10 years as head of this representation. I'm very happy that you're here to this workshop here during the Open Days. We opened the Open Days yesterday with a quite impressive lineup of the President of the Commission, the President of the Parliament, the President of the Council, with a debate about the future of cohesion policy, particularly in these difficult times and particularly short before the discussion on the financial framework. So the meetings, the Open Days come to, as always, to a right time, and I hope that you had some possibility to enjoy some of the receptions taking place yesterday and also during the next 3 days. We're expecting 6,000 participants in more than 100 events, and of course this is traditionally one of the biggest events, and I'm very happy to welcome you here on behalf of the Peria project and of the regions of Andalusia, Basse-Normandie, Mazovia and the Murcia region. Murcia is of particular interest to us as well because of the close link in the committee. The president of the Committee of the Regions is from Murcia, and there's always a direct link here to this work here at this representation. I would like to also welcome two distinguished members of the Committee of the Regions, Marshal Struzik and also Victoria Palau from Valencia, our partner region, and I'm happy that they've been with us here for some parts of the meeting. The meeting will be translated into French and Spanish, so you can have French-Spanish translation. French is on channel 1 or 2, and Spanish is on channel 4. And I think we are running a bit late, so I would suggest to the Marshal of the region of Mazovia to say some words of welcome to the meeting, and I would ask Marshal Struzik to come to join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear guests, dear participants, I would like to thank everyone for coming and to welcome you to the Open Days workshops organized by the Partnership of European Regional Innovation Agencies. The aim of the discussions is to answer two important questions. How can the regional level learn from each other on innovation? And how can the regional context contribute to smart specialization? As the Marshal of Mazovia region, I would like to stress the importance of the interregional cooperation that plays a key role in the development at regional, national and European level. The way to implement innovation strategies is to engage regional authorities, innovation agencies and intermediary institutions in this process to work together and exchange best practices and solutions. I encourage you to an active participation. I hope that the conclusions of the event will be useful and truly inspiring. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marshal Struzik, for these warm words of welcome. And I would like to ask now Vincent Steinmetz to give us some introduction about the event, but also about the whole surroundings, settings of the projects.
Hello. I do have a PowerPoint, so should I
Yes, please.
operate? Okay. Thank you. So first of all, before I get started, I just wanted to thank the Saxony-Anhalt representation for its welcome today, and also the moderators, Thomas and Christine, for having accepted of being with us today, and all the speakers. I will, in this presentation, recall you some facts about the context in which the Peria project was developed, and also the perspective that we have since we are arriving now at the end of this project. Just let's go back a few years earlier. In 2007, 2008, there was a momentum in Europe for the definition of regional innovation strategy. It was fostered by the Commission that each regional level should have a regional innovation strategy. They had to be implemented by regional authorities. And in some regions, some regional innovation agencies were created to implement this strategy. At that time, we realized that there were quite a number of regional innovation agencies being setting up, and it would be interested to exchange practices at the regional level for better services provided by those tools. So it was more or less the starting point of this Peria project. Now the programming period 2007-2013 is ending next year, and I guess we are all in the phase of preparation of the next programming period, and especially with the preparation of the smart specialization strategy. And so we think that based on the work that we have been doing on practices exchange, there is a strong basis for progressing more within this perspective. Then, concerning the Peria project, we also realize that, of course, we have a common objective for supporting innovation, but each region is different. You cannot compare all the regions within Europe. So that is to say that each region has its specific approach for supporting innovation. It was interesting to note that despite these differences, we could find some strong common interest in practices exchange, and we will have, you will have some examples presented today. So on one hand, we are different, but on the other hand, we have a lot to share. And I think that's maybe the most important part of the results of our project, that we could find some really strong interest in those exchanges. The second point is that this project was supported by a European Regional Development Fund, and we also consider that this project, Peria, that will end at the end of this year, that is to say in 3 months, is not ending at the end of this year. We are considering sustainability of the project as an important topic, and through the examples that you will have this morning, we think that those results could have a high interest by either regional authorities or regional innovation agencies that were not involved in the initial project, but that could be involved in cooperation in the future. So listen this morning to the methodology, but also to the examples, and we think that in the future, that is to say beyond the end of this year, those results could be helpful for you. So coming back to the content of the morning, so we will have 2 workshops within this context and perspective. The first one is how can we learn from each other on innovation at the regional level, and you will have some presentation of examples of good practices exchanges. And the second one is looking ahead to the smart specialization strategy to identify what could be done better than what was done before. And we are convinced that the regional authority and the regional innovation agencies have a strong role for the future within this perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent. I would like to suggest as a methodology that now we enter into the first workshop, and Bernard Strie will give a first introduction. And then I would ask the colleagues to join me here. We should have a presentation of maximum of 15 minutes, and then I would engage you to to raise some questions. If you don't raise some, I will raise some, so that we have an active engagement, because one of the main ideas is really to discuss what can be used from this project, from these experiences, from local regional authorities beyond the project, and how it could be used for your activities within the programming of the current structural funds. So, Benna, it's all yours. Please give us a short introduction into the workshop.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for participating to this workshop. So I will briefly introduce the project more in details by telling you a bit about the partnerships that we gathered during these 3 years. So Carina, the Champagne-Ardenne Research and Innovation Agency, is the lead partner of the project, and we are working together with the Champagne-Ardenne Regional Council. In France, we also have Aquitaine Développement Innovation, which is a regional innovation agency. And we are working with 4 other countries, Saxony-Anhalt in Germany, Échacaffold region in Hungary, Veneto region in Italy, and Valencia in Spain. I should also mention that during the process of the project, we involve Basse-Normandie, a region from France, and Lower Austria from Austria. We, as Vincent said, have different cultures or different approach, and we also have to face several backgrounds, and in particular national rules that differs in the way we implement support to innovation. How was the project managed, or what was the methodology used in our project? First of all, we identified services. Every partner tells us what he was providing to SMEs or laboratories, and based on these services, we defined indicators to evaluate their efficiencies. Services and indicators help us to build a matrix and then a questionnaire. This questionnaire was answered by all the region, and then we could make a benchmarking of, based on an analysis, a benchmarking of practices. The practices we identified were 52. It was quite a lot, but we had to make a selection among them, and we reduced this number to 27. Then we had a process of practice selection seminar where every region had a vote for the most interesting practices. And based on this vote, we could define some pairs of regions which could work together. That's why on the second half of the project, we had an exchange of 8 practices. So approximately 2 or 3 between pairs of region. And what was the work then? We had this practice described, and this was done, for example, in the practice report, which can be distributed among requests. And the objective of this exchange is presented in another report, which is called the Good Practice Booklet. So there we present in details what are the aim, objectives, and tools used by these practices. The next step was, of course, to meet on site and to analyze who were the actors involved in those practices, because usually it was not only one entity involved. They had other regional actors that was playing a specific role in the implementation of these practices. So until today, we are realizing the exchange and, let's say, the transfer, and this will be presented more in detail by each pair in a few minutes. So clearly, an advantage or an added value to the project was that we bring together the regional authority and the regional innovation agencies. It was, I think, difficult to act alone on this project because these two entities are closely related. And if one has the means, the other have the knowledge of the territories, or they share this knowledge, and the transfer is done more easily when both actors are involved and are, of course, in coordinating their action. About the project, what we could be proud of is that we managed to implement as it was designed in the first step. I should say that the design of the project is based on a 2008 work, so it's quite some times now. And as mentioned earlier, we are thinking of the follow-up of the activities developed in the frame of Peria. We have new project ideas, and also we are continuing to work on the transfer of practices that will go beyond the lifetime of the project. That would be it for me.
Thank you, Bernard. Can I ask just one direct question? Why did you come up with these regions? Why did these come together in the project?
Well, there are different links. For example, we were a core of 3 partners at the beginning. One was Échacka-Fold region, because they are a partner region from Champagne-Ardenne, and they had created their regional innovation agency, and we were also in that same process. And Vincent Steinmetz is also the director of an association of regional innovation agencies in France, which was supported greatly by the Aquitaine Développement Innovation, which was then Innovalis Aquitaine. And the 3 of us, we joined in an event in Champagne-Ardenne and started discussing about the project. Then we gathered some friends or closely related regions and built this partnership.
So it was very much driven by personal contacts, or was it driven by partnerships, joint strategies, or joint project experiences in the past?
So, as I said, first, let's say, institutional relationship, and then it was based on previous collaborations that took place between regions.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other question at this stage about the project? Or are you awaiting some of the results and then we can have the discussion? You will join us here, so maybe we should disconnect the chairs, because otherwise we sit in front of the presentation. And I would ask Norbert to make his presentation, and then we can start the discussion. Okay. He's the director of the innovation agency in the Etzach-Affeldt region in North Grace Plains, which is also a partner of Sachsen-Anhalt. Voilà.
Yeah, thank you very much. And it's my task to come to the first results of the Peria project. Bernard was speaking about methodology, so I will skip this part, and I will only speak about our bilateral transition with the Saxony-Anhalt regions. In our case, we had several meetings and several working groups on this topic, and we have identified 2 services which we want to use and want to exchange in the 2 regions. In the Észak-Alföld region, Saxony-Anhalt picked the cluster management services, so they really liked the cluster management services part, which we have conducted in the past years. And what Észak-Alföld has picked was the funding of companies' participation at foreign trade fairs, which was conducted in the Saxony-Anhalt region in the past. In our case, 3 entities were participating. In the Saxony-Anhalt region, 1 entity was participating. It doesn't mean that only this entity was working on this exchange. You will see later on that there were more entities involved from the regions. On the cluster management services, As you can see, we have involved some of the clusters of our region, and we have also asked the clusters to speak about the results which they have achieved by our cluster management services. Actually, it's about a system of services which is presented to clusters, which is built on consultancy, trainings, events, so on and so on. Actually, what Saxony-Anhalt found interesting was that it was built stepwise, some of the clusters only took the first part of the service portfolio, some of the clusters took the second bigger part of the service portfolio, and there were some clusters which also needed cluster management as itself, so it was not only support. As Saxony-Anhalt is working on the regional cluster strategy, they found it interesting, and so they were involving this cluster management services idea into the regional cluster strategy. Actually, it's not like copying one region from the other, but it's more integrating into strategies. On the other part, what we have seen as a good practice in Saxony-Anhalt was the funding of companies' participation in foreign trade fairs. Saxony-Anhalt is doing this on ERDF base, and it's a very transparent and flexible funding system with continuous calls coming out and very flexible conditions for the companies to participate. As the innovation agencies, in our case in the Észak-Alföld region, is not having that part of competencies, we have involved the Hungarian Investment and Trade Agency to this project, and the Investment and Trade Agency was participating in the meetings, and they were integrating this action into their strategy. There were also other actors involved, like the Ministry of Science and Economic Affairs of Saxony-Anhalt from Saxony-Anhalt region. Actually, there were several challenges in our case. For instance, there was a different institutional background and a different regional background. In Germany, regions are very strong. In Hungary, regions are very weak. They have different financial means. They have different political background. So it was a very different institutional background we had to tackle. And that's why we had to find the right actors in both regions, like the ministry in the case of Saxony-Anhalt and the Investment and Trade Agency in our case in our region and in Hungary. So that was the first challenge we had to solve. There were also different type of fundings. In Hungary, there is generally no continuous calls, so there is periodical calls proposed. In Saxony-Anhalt, there is continuous, well-predictable calls, as we learned. So it was a lesson to learn for the Hungarian partner and also for the Investment and Trade Agency to improve the funding system. We hope this will get better in the future strategy. On the cluster management part, there are some cluster management funding is existing in Saxony-Anhalt, but it's not linked with direct services for cluster managers like trainings and consultancy and so on. And that was the new idea which they could involve in their future cluster strategy, that besides funding they can use consultancy also. There were some benefits also for us and also for the others. Like for all the others, there are, as Bernard has already mentioned, there are some good practice guides proposed explaining the practices and the process and how you can involve that in your strategy. So please don't copy, just involve. And there were also benefits for us, for our region, it was that the representatives of the Investment and Trade Agency are considering a benchmark study, and they are involving that part in their funding strategy. And in Saxony-Anhalt, the Investitionsbank, which is partner in our project, is able to support their ministry with information to make the new strategy in the new cluster strategy process. These were the benefits for us, and these were the benefits for others. And you will also hear some other practices from our other partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Norbert. I think you touched a very interesting aspect. Can I just ask you one question? We talked about exchanges on innovation policies, and the colleagues from Sachsen-Anhalt involved trade promotion in it. What is the link between, let's say, bringing SMEs into the international markets and innovation policies? How did you clarify that in your workshop, in your working together?
Okay. Generally, it's if you just think about an SME, and if you're an SME and you want to bring your product to a foreign trade fair, to an exhibition, then usually it's some kind of innovative product. So mainly it's not the usual stuff you are bringing, you want to show in a foreign trade fair. So it's usually an innovative product. And this part of the innovation process, it's at the end of the innovation chain, like the bringing product to the market. And the thing is, in many cases, this is the part which lags behind. So you support research, you support the innovation process, but if there is a product, you don't help enterprises to bring it to the market. And actually what enterprises would like to have, they would like to have sales. And that's why they are doing it. And this is one part where you can help them to get sales.
Okay. I would have a second question if nobody else has one, but please raise your hand if you have one. You mentioned that the difference in funding strategies was that you had more a project-based funding and Sachsen-Anhalt had more an institutional funding, a longer-term funding. What discovered you as the benefits or the problems in it? I ask this because also, for example, DG Regio has just recently restructured itself and has set up a unit for capacity building in structural funds management. How can you build capacity under these conditions of short-term funding and longer-term funding? How do you see that? The Investment and Trade Agency and also our agency have seen in Saxony-Anhalt that we call them continuous calls. I don't know if it's the right expression. These continuous calls are much more transparent and much more predictable for enterprises. So it's not like waiting for the new call and waiting for the new period and so on and so on. They just know for a longer time, longer period, what they can expect. They have the list of trade fairs they can participate. In this case, for the list of calls that they want to work on. In our case, the project base is was more unpredictable. So it was not so. For enterprises, it was more stress to look for the calls and look for the right moment to submit it. So I think there were some benefits on the continuous calls in the case of transparency and predictability. Okay, thank you very much. I think we have a very disciplined audience, so we can join maybe now to looking at the Italian perspective. I would like to invite Ivan Buesso to present the experiences from the Veneto side and from the partners Veneto work together with in the project. Please, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's see. Okay. So yes, I will come back to France as well, because in our case we did this job, we did this, we tried to exchange some practices between Veneto region and the region of Aquitaine in France. It was already described that we have different backgrounds, but we have also a lot to share. That's why when we go through the information collected in the first part, we saw that there was an interesting approach in what at that time Innovalis Aquitaine were doing to support their small and medium companies in two aspects. One is the using of design to create new products. And for sure, Italy is very well recognized all over the world for design. But we saw that there was something to learn also on this topic, actually. And then the fact that in this region they were implementing an innovation voucher system that was really established, while in our case we introduced this innovation voucher support in the new regional law for research and innovation, and it was a starting process. So it was interesting for us to see how others had implemented this approach and which kind of problems, which kind of improvements also they had in this topic. On the other side, from the Aquitaine point of view, there was an interest in our approach to international cooperation visits. Actually, Veneto Innovazione is the innovation agency. We are more or less in the process that has been described by Vincent in the beginning. We have been set up to support the Veneto region in implementing innovation policies. And actually this practice of the international cooperation visit is something that we use to create content in the programs and in the international agreements that the Veneto region institutionally is doing. So they have some agreements with different regions all over the world, and we create opportunities to bring in the industry, the research side, and to let them collaborate in this framework. So to go a bit deeper in the three aspects that we selected, in the first case we noticed that there were two things that were important for us. The dissemination events that in Aquitaine were closely linked to this process of creation of new products, and also the fact that there were a structured support to develop new products using design. We had something like that in supporting companies in the technology transfer process, but actually we saw a possibility to bring in something of this approach also for the development of new products. In this case, it was also useful for us to create linkages at the local level with other stakeholders. As Norbert was saying, it's not only the partner that afterwards have been involved, but for instance, we involved the Chamber of Commerce because they have specific offices in each province of the region, and they have usually a closer contact with company than us. We are a small company of about 20 people, and our region has 4.8 million of inhabitants, so to give you some idea. But again, we involved the stakeholders because also there was an interest to implement more activities on this topic of using design in a more structured way. Innovation voucher, we noticed that there was a key role of a service provider in Aquitaine. In our case, we were setting up the system, and we saw from the discussion we had in Bordeaux that it's really important to have this kind of intermediaries involved somehow, and that's what we try to import, let's say, in our model. From the other point of view, the international cooperation visit, today Aquitaine Développement Innovation is a new organization in the partnership, but when we discussed, there was a need to increase the attitude of the internal staff towards internationalization, and maybe this step also helped them to create something new. it was also seen from Aquitaine as a tool to identify new projects and to have the possibility to set up and to develop new projects, new international projects. So we have these meetings and this discussion, and what we are now experiencing at this time is that with the support, in the first case, with the support of the other stakeholders that are present in the region, we are trying to launch a regional platform to support the structured approach to design in our small and medium companies. On the other hand, the Veneto region is trying to use this network of intermediaries, and to do this, they also have implemented an online platform where the intermediaries can be collected. This is something that puts together two practices that we notice in Aquitaine, and the use of a platform where the intermediaries could be listed and the SMEs could have direct access and could also see how they, in a way, how they are performing. It's useful to create this new approach. On the other hand, for the third case, we are working together with the other Peria partners to set up new projects, and this is something that will maybe build on the experience that we have made. To conclude, I think that in this case it's important to have, yes, we have different approaches and different framework, but it helps to have a previous legislative framework that helps you to implement the things that you would like to do. In the case of the Veneto region, the fact that there was a law that foresee the implementation of innovation voucher system was useful to implement, to grasp some information and some support and some ideas from the Aquitaine example. On the other hand, we saw some difficulties in translating what we are doing in policy implementation, because this is a long process, it takes a long time, but in the case of services for design, where it's more operative and where you can involve other stakeholders and you don't need a legislative approach in this case, it was easier for us to move on rapidly. And that's it from my point of view. I don't know if our colleagues from Aquitaine would add something on this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ivan. I look at our audience if there is somebody having a question. Otherwise, I don't see one, but I have one. You have two regions with very different economic structure. What role did the big companies play in this system? And the second question is connected to the role of the universities in this innovation voucher system and in your cooperation.
Okay, very interesting, the second question, I would say. Okay, we have 99% of small companies in our region, and more or less. We also saw that some sectors are comparable with the sectors in Aquitaine. Actually, our task, from our point of view of Innovation Regional Agency, we don't have something to do with the big companies. They act on their self, but what we try to do is to involve them in a process of cooperation with small and medium companies, because we try to set up linkages and to create synergies among them. It's not easy because we don't have so much in our region. We have to go abroad or to go in other regions in Italy to find this kind of situation. But for instance, in the textile sector, obviously we have very big companies, but in this case they are not so linked with the innovation agency and with the activities that we are implementing. In other cases, what we try to do is to have a role of transfer of products from the big companies to the small companies in order to create some synergies, as I said. What for the second approach? There's a big discussion because usually the service provider I mentioned before for the innovation voucher, usually they are seen as the research centers and the universities. This is, I would say, also the main approach in our region, but we are also discussing about the possibility to open up, because innovation voucher is a very small action with a small amount of money that could be used to enable more action. In this case, for us, it's interesting not only to rely on the competencies of the research centers and the university, but also giving the possibility to use other kind of approach, dealing with marketing, dealing with internal organization. In these cases, you don't need to have the research center of the university, but maybe you need some structure professionals that know this topic and know this sector. But this is still an open discussion, I would say.
These innovation vouchers is a discussion we have in many regions. Have you ever considered to develop an international innovation voucher where you can implement it in different regions, so it's like an innovation currency?
Yes, it's not easy. We had in the past, actually it was thanks to the INTERREG again, we had a project where we discussed the possibility to use this approach with an international framework. And, practically, it was not so easy locally because the research center and the university are reluctant, but not the companies. We had some very interesting cases with small companies willing to implement something, and we, thanks to the cooperation that we have in technology transfer all over the world, we find out some competencies not in Italy. And they were happy, obviously, because they solved their problems. So this is the balance that we have to keep in mind. And I will stop here. Follow me.
Maybe we can come back later to this. So first of all, thanks. And maybe you can join us here.
Thank you very much.
Now I would like to ask Moelle Picard to join us. She's replacing the Gérald Brun, the director of the Higher Education Research and Innovation Department of the Champagne-Ardenne Regional Council, who couldn't make it, but she was bravely, let's say, stepping in, and she is presenting the cooperation between Champagne-Ardenne and our partner region, Valencia. Please.
Good morning. Thank you for introducing me. So please excuse my director, Gérald Brun. He planned to be here today and he couldn't come. In today's presentation, I'm going to present the results of our practice exchange between Champagne-Ardenne region and the Valencia regions. I will detail which steps our pairs carry out so far, and which next step we plan to have to implement the best practices identified. So, as Bernard Stré explained, in the first half of the project, we identified 52 best practices. And in the second part of the project, we did a short list of best practices. And sorry, the sound. Okay, perfect. So we made a short list of best practices, and we decided to work with the Valencia regions. So we had two bilateral meetings, one in Champagne-Ardenne and one in Valencia. So here are the partners involved in our bilateral meetings. So Carina, the Regional Innovation Agency, the Champagne-Ardenne Regional Council. So in the field of research and innovation, the Champagne-Ardenne Regional Council objective is to finance public and private research. We finance collaborative research projects, R&D in businesses, and also research projects in general. INPIVA was also involved in our bilateral meetings. INPIVA is the Institute for Small and Medium-Sized Companies in Valencia. And finally, CPI, the Polytechnic City of Innovation, was involved in our meetings, and CPI is science park of the Polytechnic University in Valencia. So we identified 3 practices. The first one, the Expande program. So we face similar issues between Valencia and Champagne-Ardenne. We have a lack of research staff and innovation manager. So that's why we were interested to study more and to learn more about the Expande program, which actually aim to reduce the shortage in the presence of research staff and innovation manager. Valencia partners were interested in the Young Innovative Enterprise contract. So this contract financed the creation of innovation enterprise during 3 years. And they were also interested by our regional incubator. The regional incubator supports the creation of young innovative enterprise, and it provides coaching of entrepreneurs in the creation process of their enterprise. So we did 2 bilateral meetings, as I explained, 1 day and a half meeting in each region. We really found that the most important thing was to involve regional actors in the field of research and innovations. We also, for example, in Champagne-Ardenne, when we invite our partners from Valencia, we ask the Young Entrepreneur Center in Champagne-Ardenne, the Technopole de l'Aube, to join us and to present their organization. We also ask enterprise to come to our meetings, to enterprise who were financed by the Young Innovative Enterprise contract, to testimony on this state aid program. So for our next steps, we would like to create with the Peria partners a network between companies and research centers. So that's another project that we would like to launch after the Peria project. So if you are interested, please contact us. Carina, the Regional Innovation Agency, is planning to work more on business development and entrepreneurship with Valencia. So as all the partners explain, we are in the phase of, we are working on the next programming period. So that's why it was interesting to end the Peria project in 2013. Because in fact, in Champagne-Ardenne, we plan to transfer the Expande program. We have meeting today with representatives of the state and regional actors to prepare the next regional operational program. So we might implement the Expande program in our next programming period. And INPIVA also has identified that its financial structure should be revised to allow the implementing loans for innovative projects. And actually, Francisco from INPIVA explained me that next month they're going to implement loans for innovative projects. So on this, with these 2 examples, you can see concrete fact, short-term objective of the Peria project, and you can really understand the impact of the Peria project on our public policies. So thank you very much for your attention. I will be glad to hear your comments on our project. And if you are interested to cooperate with us, I will be glad also to talk to you and to answer to your question.
Thank you, Noël. Is there anybody wants to join? Please. Otherwise, I will ask you some questions later on. But I have one question. You referred to the innovation managers as one of the key elements. Mm-hmm. How much was that driven by the SMEs in the regions? Is there a strong need for this? And do you exchange innovation managers also between the regions?
we don't plan to exchange innovation manager between regions. The Expande program financed part of the cost of the manager cost. Is it clear? We just plan to implement a similar tools to help SMEs mainly to have a research manager in their companies.
Okay, but for example, when you think about a further spin-off, the exchange of innovation manager could be an interesting element in the future.
It could be. If we want to implement a similar project, we can really discuss about it. We are open to propositions. So yeah, it could be an idea to exchange research manager between Valencia regions and Champagne-Ardenne regions, yes. But right now we are not planning to do it, but yeah, it could be interesting.
Okay, if there's no other question, then thanks for the presentation, and please join us here. And now we're looking more on the project side, because the Open Days this year are been in close cooperation with the INTERREG IVC program. We have a big exhibition in the premises of the Committee of the Regions with all the projects. And yesterday at lunch with Michel Lamblin, we were discussing about this rich experience and what to do with it. And I'm very happy that Stefano Amorosi is with us to give some information about INTERREG on what the program has done. And maybe out of that and the combination of what the experience is, we can discuss then also a bit how to place INTERREG also in the future. So I hope your presentation is on the, I think it's under documented down there. You have to go, yeah, voila.
Okay. Yes. Okay, so thank you. Well, I'm very happy to conclude this workshop, giving an overview from program perspective, first of all on the results of Peria project, and then more generally on regional innovation and smart specialization. So concerning Peria, which is the reason why we're gathered here today, I would like to point out what, from the program perspective, were the strong points of this project. So first of all, the relevance of the topic for European policies, regional innovation, is of course in line with the Lisbon strategy, which was very important and at the beginning of this project, but looking with perspective to the future, also to the EU 2020 strategy. And relevance of the topic tackled by this project also for the program INTERREG IVC, because it has a strong focus on the exchange of experience. We've seen examples how regions, how local authorities, how regional agencies from different regions in Europe had the possibility to exchange their knowledge and the good practices they have identified in their territory. And this was also, I think, possible thanks to an interesting partnership which gathered partners from the four main areas of the program, and this could lead, of course, to what for the programs have very interesting results. So first of all, for the data we have up to December 2011, 40 staff members from these regions have increased their capacities in the field of policies for regional innovation, and this will be a result which will be, of course, available for the regions, for the institutions which are represented in this program in the medium long run. So it's a capital they will keep in their regions, and as well 52 good practices identified. This is very interesting data because it also shows how the capital, which is the capital of knowledge, of experience, which is already available in regions, and through this interregional cooperation can get together and exchange and strengthen each other through what we call a win-win cooperation. So I talked how Peria contributed and how Peria is relevant for the program. And I think it's also nice for me to give you a bit the context on INTERREG IVC program. I don't know how many of you know the program already. Not many, maybe, but yeah, some people. Good to know. So, in a sentence, INTERREG IVC is about sharing, learning by sharing. So, it's a program which allows regional authorities and local authorities as well to come together to exchange on the knowledge they have in a certain field in order to face common challenges, and of course to improve their practices and their policies. And within the program, this is done for two main priorities, so in the field of innovation and the knowledge economy on the one hand, and environment and risk prevention. What is very interesting about INTERREG IVC is that regions from all over 27 member states, as well as Norway and Switzerland, can participate and then exchange on their good practices. Budget-wise, maybe it's interesting to point out that the budget for this program is quite small compared to other programs of the cohesion policy, for instance. More than 300 million available for projects. So considering that this is spread all over the different regions of all the participating countries, this is also a bit of a challenge, the challenge of this program, to really focus on those projects which have a very high potential of increasing and of improving the effectiveness of their policies and more generally of the cohesion policy. I have here a few figures how the project, on the state of play of the project. So we have now 204 running projects, and what is interesting maybe to point out here is that innovation, research and technology development is a very popular, very successful theme represented by 46 projects, which is more or less one third of the projects approved and running in this moment. Again, on the achievements now of the program. First of all, what I would like to point out is that currently, through the project, 90% of the regions are represented in our project. So really, the possibility for every region to exchange on the knowledge they have among each other. More than 2,800 good practices have been identified, and more than 150 have been transferred. So this data might seem not very successful, for instance, to see that out of so many good practices, only 151 have been transferred, whereas it is actually a very good result. We are very proud at the program level, because this means that not only a good practice has been identified, has been studied among the regions, but that they have been concretely in practice transferred to the importing region. So it's a very, very concrete result. And another result we're very proud of is the fact that through our projects, 118 policies have been improved. And once again, this means that really a measure new measure has been introduced in the importing region, or even a new policy has been started thanks to the cooperation with the partners region of the projects. So, coming to, from our perspective, how INTERREG IVC contributes to smart specialization. Well, I would say that as INTERREG IVC gives the opportunity to exchange on the knowledge, to face together and common challenges, and to find common solutions via benchmarking internationally, in an interregional way. So this is the possibility for regions also to be more aware where they stand internationally, and also for the competitiveness of these regions. So to understand, it enables to understand really where they are with their policies and what they're doing. The program in the near future, is also launching. It has just launched an initiative which is called the capitalization of the results of the projects which are currently running, and which have been clustered, so gathered for those projects which are tackling a similar topic, and we have identified 12 main themes, 12 domains which you see displayed here. So with over the two priorities, innovation and environment of the program, and we really hope that through the analysis of the results of these projects, then the experts which are involved in this exercise will be able to extract capital of knowledge which can be then fed in regional, the improvement of regional policies for innovation, and in particular for smart specialization. And looking to the future, smart specialization, I would like to say smart specialization and regional innovation is, of course, something which is tackled by the projects financed by the program, and in particular in the context of the last call for proposals we have recently approved. We have also 3 projects which tackle directly the topic of smart specialization. So this is in different topics. For instance, the Boundaries Plus project focuses on the development of information and communication technologies as a tool, as a key for competitiveness. We have also the example of the NoHub project, which is also, we believe that since Hungarian partner of Peria project is also involved in this project, I'm sure that there will be the possibility to capitalize the experience already gained through Peria, and also to have further developments in the implementation of this project. So this is all for me.
Thank you, Stefania. Maybe I can just say that these capitalization events you are doing, you do together with the Committee of the Region. They all take place here in Brussels.
Exactly.
Can you say a bit more whether, if interested partners would be interested to join, how they get more information about that, about the capitalization activities?
Well, first of all, this afternoon there is a capitalization workshop, okay, where the initiative will be presented, and it's a way, of course, to know more about this initiative we launched, and you will also have the opportunity to hear from the direct experience of certain projects, how the work is then being studied and used by the capitalization experts to really cluster the knowledge they gained. So it's an opportunity this afternoon, for instance, the Committee of the Region to learn more about this.
Okay, thank you. Maybe you can join us here. And now I'd like to start a bit of a discussion. We have another half an hour, which is exceptional. Normally we always run late with the presentations, but you kept all very short. But maybe before we start talking, maybe I can ask a question to the audience. Who of you, maybe you can raise your hand, is at the moment actively involved in the development of a smart specialization strategy in your region? In this region. Maybe you can raise your hand so that people can see how many are these. This is a clear minority. That was about 15, 20 people, I would say, who would like to be involved in this. Maybe people who haven't been can show their hand whether they would like to be involved in smart specialization at regional level. Okay. Now, maybe we can start with you who would like to be involved. What is your question how to get involved to the group of people here? And maybe then we can start off to share maybe some of the experiences. Maybe I could ask those who have raised their hands already to raise a hand again and to raise a question, to give maybe some of your evidence so that we can understand what your interests are and then we can respond to it. So, who would be the one who raises a question or expresses what is the interest in that? Okay, there is one. Thank you very much. Can you please tell your name and where you come from? And maybe you can stand up so that we can see you.
Sébastien Franchel from the Limousin region. So yes, of course we intend to get into specialized smart specialization. Our first initiative is to be a member of the platform, S3 platform. So we hope to get to have a maximum of information. So our first objective is to better understand what is behind this concept, and after that is to start sort of discussion between the regional partners about this smart specialization. But the first step for us is to better understand what is behind this.
Okay, I think that's a good question, especially I think in France, because the regions become more involved in the operational programming for the next period, structural funds period as well.
Exactly.
So maybe our friends who have been working on this, how do you get involved in smart specialization? Are you all involved in smart specialization? And what are your strategies to get this into your programs? So I don't know who wants to start. Okay.
So we are working on the smart specialization strategy. Although I must say we are also partners in the Know-How project, and there was a question raised in it was just last week in Vienna among the Know-How partners if in the smart specialization if they are doing a new strategy or they're just doing a strategy renewal. And actually, I must say most of the regions of this partnership are doing a renewal of the strategy. So this is the same for us. We are not doing a new strategy. We have done a renewal of the strategy. We have a different case in Hungary, as we still don't know if there will be S3 strategies on regional level. So we started to work. There will be definitely one on national level. So we start working with the national level, and we have convinced the National Ministry for Economy to start working on this process. And now we are working on this issue with them together. So we are working on the national level strategy now, which is very interesting. And we are also partners in the S3 platform. So we are participating in the process of S3. But our experience was that S3 is very theoretical nowadays. So you need more practice-oriented approach if you want to make a good strategy nowadays. And actually, that's what the people and politicians want from us. They want result-based strategies, not only evidence-based strategies, result-based strategies. And I think we still need more practical orientation and practical approach to the S3 strategies. That's what we are doing nowadays.
Okay, maybe, yes? Okay, there's another question, but maybe before you ask, maybe somebody else wanted to ask to answer, or is it fine? Please.
Yes. For the Champagne-Ardenne regions, we are also part of the S3 platform, and as the Limousin region, we are really looking for information, and we are in the phase of reflections toward the S3 strategy. So it's similar from the Limousin regions.
Okay, there was another question.
Yes, Yves Barjou from Aquitaine Développement University Rhine-Bold. I wanted to complement what Norbert just told us. S3 is something theoretical. Yes, indeed. When we try to come to practical issues, perhaps we realize that very often it turns into cluster policy or interclustering or cluster issues. This is a question.
Those who smiles strongest has to answer now.
My fault. I think that if I understood, I think that clusters are tools, are useful tools, and could be part of the implementation in an S3 approach. Actually, as the Veneto region, we are starting the process to learn more about the platform, what is doing this kind of theoretical, as Norbert said, approach. But we also think that we did something in the past, and we can build up and renew maybe our approach. Looking more, the first thing that I get from smart specialization is do not follow the trends. Do not have one biotechnology hub in every small town of your region, for instance. Because somehow this was something that we saw in our country, but we saw all over Europe. So maybe, especially now when the resources are not too much, focus on your strength. So this is the starting point, the good starting point for us. Then looking on how our economic infrastructure has developed in the years, we think that cluster could be a useful tool to implement such strategy. But before, you have to decide where to go. And this is the point in the process where we are in this moment. And I think that maybe then you can focus on what is going on in the region and use these tools as cluster, for instance, to promote and to implement the strategy. We are also looking at what the national level is doing, because it's obvious in the past years, mainly the approach to innovation was regionally based in our country, but I think that more or less is the same. But we also need the support of the national level in order to have more resources and to be more effective in the end. So we are thinking about a similar approach to what Norbert was saying, to cooperate, to create a strategy that is based on our local strength, but is connected to the strength of the country. And this is our starting point. I don't know if this is an answer as well.
Just to maybe also add that this exchange of the practitioners is, of course, the chance of the innovation agencies, because the agencies are the intermediaries between companies and the local or regional authorities. And, of course, now is the time to develop the strategies. But there was another question.
I have a comment. Please take the mic. We have translation. So my name is Ökrös. I come from Finland, and I'm leader of the Bosnia Atlantica Institute, which is working on transnational learning. I have a comment on the smart specialization discussion here, because from our point of departure, smart specialization is very practical. It is about improving the way innovation systems work. And I think we should look upon the platform as a kind of approach to open up what we are doing and look deeper inside it and try to improve it. And that's our approach. I'm giving a presentation tomorrow morning in a different workshop on this topic.
I just wanted to underline the key question of this workshop is how can regional level learn from each other? And learning is something where you gain information and you do something with the information. And of course your reality test comes within what is in the new strategies and what are the new ideas coming in the strategy. How can the INTERREG Secretariat with this capitalization workshop help this kind of process?
Well, thanks. Well, of course, extracting what are the most interesting results of the cooperation of the regions so far in the different projects that we have, the program has financed. We have 204 projects running, so there is really, really a huge capital of knowledge coming from the regions, and the local authorities, coming from the practitioners of the people which are daily involved in identifying and testing how a policy can be more or less successful, what is the strength of a territory compared to another, and maybe also in comparison with another region, to understand and to identify something which was not so evident at the beginning and which is then recognized as a capital. And of course this is going to be systematized by this initiative of capitalization, and then this will be used as a basis for policy recommendations in the different fields tackled by our projects.
So in practice, our friends from Limousin could get in touch with you when they're looking for some experience, some best practices in certain areas of innovation promotion, and you could identify suitable partners they could talk to.
Well, actually, the way capitalization works now at program level is we have identified experts in different fields. In these 12 topics we have identified, and they will actually get in contact with the partners involved in our project and interview them and analyze the policy recommendations they have identified within the collaboration with other regions or the good practices identified or even transferred to a partner region. So let's say in this moment it would be a mix of top-down and bottom-up approach, because it's experience coming from the territories, but at this stage it will be from the program perspective also to look and see what are the most interesting results, which would be interesting to expand, because now they are of course involve many regions, but this would be an opportunity to make this knowledge more pan-European. Yeah.
So in practical terms, you could probably get in touch with the expert who is focusing on innovation in the program to identify probably some of the partners you could talk to in having a practical exchange, for example.
For example, yes.
Okay. Are there more questions? Yes, there is another one.
Yes, thank you. My name is Jukka Alasanti. I come from the Tampere region in Finland. Thank you for this highly interesting presentation which showed the benefit for regions of sharing experiences and cooperating. If I understood right, the results were like incremental improvements to the systems in important regions. And now my question is that would it be possible that in the next coming programming period we take one step further with from sharing best practices to start talking about next practices and work something new together instead of sharing?
I think that is also connected to the question we had before, where we thought, what is a theoretically forecast and what is the practical application in the future? So, does anybody wants to join in on this? No.
I have two, not answers, but but like I would try to highlight our experience on that. It's very hard to implement something in an Interreg project where you only can involve public entities and regional governments. So in many cases it's not so easy that to involve enterprises who can really do something for the local economy in a project where you cannot give them any money from the project budget because it's not allowed. So you have to think about indirect processes to involve them, and that's not always doesn't make it easy to implement things. So if it will change, then there was a lot of talk of including the Regions of Knowledge program in Interreg, and the Regions of Knowledge was also involving companies. So if it happens in the next period, then I see some possibilities. On the other hand, in these international projects, you always run the risk that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know how many people participating in the project, and there should be a very good, how should I say, back office network to disseminate the results in your own region. So, for instance, as we have been working on the renewal of our regional innovation strategy, we set up a working group just for this topic: how to involve the methodologies and good practices which we could identify in many of years of international projects in several entities. So not only our case, several entities. How we can involve that into the strategy making, because sometimes it was really just the knowledge. It was just at one entity, one or two person know this topic, and it was. So we set up this working group, and we've been working whom to invite to get this knowledge in the region. So these two experiences.
Maybe to complete the comment or the answer from Norbert, I would say that your question is maybe mostly related to innovating in innovation policy or researching in innovation policy, and this might not be exactly the topic of INTERREG 4C or the future program. Also, you have to convince your policy level about how much a change it will impact your region, and therefore it's more, or it's easier maybe in the first step to go slowly, or to have some pilot action, but not at European level, but maybe at your local or regional level, and then share it with others. This step make it easier. Also, to come back to your point on how to learn from each other in regional innovation and the link with Regional Innovation Agency and smart specialization, I could say that in France there is a working group at national level, and what we see from this working group is that the mission of regional authority and regional innovation agency should be clearly defined, because the role of each of them is not the same, and you may not, an agency do not have a funding role, and may not be in a position to request some information from other actors. So what we see in Champagne-Ardenne is that the agency is more dealing with what could be called monitoring of a strategy, and of course the regional authority is dealing more with the thinking or design of the policy. Mm-hmm. But this is our case. I know that in other regions they, let's say, empower more their agencies and give them more flexibility to design this strategy. It's based, I think, on really a regional approach here.
Yeah. Can I ask the colleague from the Tampere region, because Tampere, of course, with Nokia, with others, has a very specific model in Europe, very successful model. How big role does play the big company, a big technology driver, in your regional innovation strategy? How far are they needed to be successful? Because, of course, this is an issue for regions which don't have these technology drivers, and of course, knowing what role they play might be useful for them as well.
Thank you. The role of big companies, we describe them at the moment by the term of ecosystem. They, like Nokia in Tampere, had something like 3,000 research engineers, but the whole ecosystem was like 10,000 smaller companies and university researchers and all the activities connected to that. And now our focus in our smart specialization strategy will be that how we develop these ecosystems, and what are the talents needed, what are the structures or institutions needed, what kind of finance do these ecosystems need, because the logic is different from the past where you look just on one company and then you look on small companies. But if you look them as a whole, as an ecosystem, the logic is different. And that changes also the development policy of our region.
Okay. I think there was some in the front.
Yes, Vincent Steinmetz from Kalina. I just wanted to come back to the idea of the design of the new practices. I think it's very important. Of course, the Peria project was focusing on the exchanges of existing practices, but the design of new practices is very important, at least for two reasons. The first one is that we have new tools now for designing practices that didn't exist 5 years ago. I'm thinking about ICT that enables a lot of possibilities for animating or supporting innovation at the regional level. I think so. We have new tools, and the second point is that we have also new needs from the society. And I will also mention two examples. The first one is population aging, and also social innovation. And regarding social innovation, so far practices are not that much developed, and I think there is a huge potential for designing new practices regarding those aspects. And finally, we are talking about to innovate within innovation. I think it is important, but we have also to go one step further. That is to say, if we want to develop that, we have also to think about the instrument that will be able to foster the innovation in innovation. And I think also we could have some innovation within the instrument. And I'm looking at Stefania on that in the future, in the programming period, so that we can use the instrument to design the new practices.
Yeah. Okay, I would have one question, which is, if there's no other, then I would like to raise an issue. I don't know who said it, but you designed the project in 2008, and it was then approved, and then it was running. Of course, since 2008, the world has changed dramatically. Also, the situation for local regional authorities have changed. What impact did the economic crisis, the changes of the ability of local regional government, but also companies, have on your project? And how do you see innovation now, also towards innovation finance, for example, and when you started the project? How did that affect the project? And what are your conclusions in the discussions you probably had in your meetings on this matter?
I would say that it did not affect the practices or the services we were focusing on, because maybe the use of the instrument, if I'm thinking of Expande, the methodology has not changed for INPIVA during these years, but maybe the number of applications was different. So within the partnership, it has, I would say, low impact because the methodology was already defined and we stick to that strategy. Now, your question could be relevant if it happens that, I would take the case of INPIVA because I started with it, but it might be the case that this tool is no longer appropriate because the profile of companies have changed or new needs appears, and therefore we should also keep contact with them to see how they change the tools to adapt to this new economic background. But as far as the project or the services are concerned, there was no major impact.
But if I may add something, it's also a discussion ongoing. I mean, there was the question about how to develop new policies. Okay, we are not, in the project we are not developing new policies, but we collect seeds for new policies. And when the crisis had an impact in our region, we all more or less change our tools. But as Bernard was saying, the project was in a phase where the methodology was launched and the discussion on the selective practice were there, and Mrs. Amoruso, she needed the results. You know, you have to prepare the reports and everything. But this does not mean that we are not talking about these new tools that we are developing at local level. And this is another asset for this approach, because we are continuing the discussion, as it was mentioned in most of the slides that we presented, to set up something new. And in this discussion, these new tools are obviously something that we have to keep in consideration, because, as you said, that the world is changing dramatically.
The crisis could have an impact on the transferability of the practices, because we have local authorities have less money, and so it's not the best time to create new tools to finance projects. So maybe some other Interreg project face the same issues, but yeah, it's mainly on the transferability of the best practices.
I raised the question because when I saw on the slide that INPIVA is changing from grants towards revolving funds, for example, this was a big debate we had in Germany 10 years ago, because 10 years ago the German government had not much money left and the regions had to change their funding instruments. Now this situation has changed a bit, but now it's probably also that more local and regional authorities have to think new ways of funding and refunding. And I think one of the dangers in the next programming period is it's not anymore what you need, but it's more who can provide the co-finance, who get the funding. So this is really a challenge that it's not going where it has the best effect, but it's going there who has the best co-financing capability to do so. And this can be a challenge in the future as well. Yes, here's a short... I mentioned INPIVA, so now we have to...
You did. This is on the name, Francisco Ferranda from INPIVA. You're perfectly right. We have to steer from a grant given to debt-based support to SMEs. And at the time when, as you said, our improvement of financial support, participative, innovative loans for innovative projects, when that question was raised, at the same time we started negotiations, discussions with EIF. EIF personnel came to Valencia with a view to precisely do something about that.
Can I just say EIF is the European Investment Fund. It's a part of the European Investment Bank, and it's doing innovation finance from the European side. Sorry.
That's right. And the time couldn't be more appropriate. We all know the lack of funding that that we all have, some more than others, because the money is going to the governments to finance the public sector. So therefore, that has the crowding out effect that we all know that makes less funding available for SMEs. Therefore, the need to leverage on funds such as the kind of funding provided by EIF, the instruments such as Jeremy, Jessica, what you have. So, and as it was said, in the months to come, we want to see sound progress on that in the region of Valencia. Of course, there's an administrative sort of hurdle, and that's the change in the new period for ERDF, the new programming period, and that has sort of delayed a little what we have in mind of what should be in place in the sense of making a hybrid approach to innovative project support, not only grants but funding, and that of course links into the risk management aspects, which we time and again we learn from the regions where innovative financial supports are in place. Should go on, but
no, I think we have a second workshop where this can be played a role. I can just say that revolving funds, from the experience in Germany, is a mixed story. In innovation finance, they can play a big role. SME finance is working very well. In other areas, it's a little less difficult. But looking at the watch, we are 2 minutes late. I just want to wrap up and say thank you to all the panelists. I think we touched quite some parts of the innovation process, from startup companies, innovation design, innovation finance, innovation capitalization. We've seen that the INTERREG program can do. We have learned about innovation ecosystems, and I like that term very much, because very often it's seen only as a public or a private entity. I think it's a holistic approach. I want to thank again Marshall Struzik to join us, also Victoria Palau from Valencia. I wish you a successful second part, and now I wish you a nice coffee break. Thanks to the translators, and all the best. Thank you very much. And we start again at 11:15 here in the venue. Thank you.